Hello, folks. Well, as I looked at the latest issue of Model Airplane News magazine, I saw pictures of a helicopter all lit up for night flying and with captions saying how neat and really easy it was to fly them in the dark. Well, that motivated me to show you what it looked like almost 40 years ago in 1977 when I first tried flying helicopters in the dark. You see, my club and I were already night flying airplanes, but helicopter flying in the dark was just unheard of, since they were also fairly new and most who tried them had a hard time flying them in the daylight, let alone trying to fly them in the dark with no gyros. Well, at the time, I was really involved with the rapidly growing RC industry and watched it really evolve amazingly to this day, along with the first electric helicopters, gyros, electric tail rotor motors, and more. After spending 20 years on active duty in the marine avionics field, I became a systems engineer in computers, and when I wrote an article on how to add half rates to a person's radio, I was offered a job at Kraft RC Systems working in the Signature Series line. Well, Phil Kraft and Jerry Pullen were known as the fathers of the first digital proportional radios, and at the time, almost everybody that was flying RC flew with those gold, familiar-looking radios. Well, being a big part of that evolution, I had my nose to the wind, and anything new that came along, we all knew about it. Well, after about 6 years of flying RC planes in the dark, I had enough experience to begin writing articles on the subject in the model magazines like Model Aviation, RCM, Model Builder, Radio Helicopter published in England, and Rotary, which had titles like RC Night Flying, Believe It or Not, and Night Pylon Racing. Well, that was exciting because all the planes looked the same and you had to really keep track of your own. Well, then I began flying helicopters. My first helicopters were also from an American company called American RC Helicopters, who was headed up by John Simone Jr. He took me under his wing and taught me how to fly helis. Well, once I learned how, it kind of became boring, same as airplanes, so I decided to put some lights on them and try it in the dark for excitement. Well, those lights we had in the day were just simply 5-volt 327 bulbs. There were no super bright LEDs or what we have today. In fact, there were no PCs, cell phones, social media, or internet, which actually began in earnest in 1995 when Windows introduced Windows 95 18 years later. That's when I began opening my own computer repair business with my experience from the start. Also, we didn't fly at dusk. We waited till pitch dark. That was in order to get our night vision so we could actually see those tiny bulbs. We also used Cyalume chemical lights for emergency in case we crashed or the 5-volt lights went out. That way we could find the planes easily. We actually never crashed too much, as it's much easier to fly in the dark than by day, as I stated in many of my articles. You know, you can't hit something you can't see, right? Well, electrical technology was kind of slow, and we just longed for colored LEDs to come along because they were only red. But none came soon enough, so I decided to just simply try the heli at night with lights. The very first attempt was with the American RC Mantis. It had a K&B 40 Nitro engine in it, and it was witnessed and videoed by Sam Wright. You may know that name, as he has become an announcer at many of the big RC events yearly even today. In fact, his first RC event announcing job came from the first Toys for Tots USMC air show that I conceived in 1979 at MCAS Tustin, California at the Blimp Station. You see, after I did my 20 years, I went into the Marine Corps Reserves and worked with CH-53 helicopters there. Well, as you may know, the Marines are tasked with Toys for Tots program each year. We raise money and toys for underprivileged children so they can have a nice Christmas. Well, that's when I came up with the idea for a model air show, like the big ones with the Blue Angels that they held in El Toro every summer. Well, I approached my commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel John Jordan, with the idea, and he loved it. He flew Santa in on a CH-46 chopper, and he even had Pat Sajak of the now Wheel of Fortune fame, who at that time was the NBC weatherman in LA. He also had Kelly Lang there, who interviewed me live on the Sunday show while I flew my 1/3 scale Byron Pitts, which since has been destroyed in the fire. She was the NBC Nightly News anchor. Well, our club was the Skynauts of the Saddleback Valley, and we gained national fame from this first show, which raised more money and toys than ever before from a single event. I was presented the Outstanding Service Award from the AMA, which was a big honor for me. Many AMA clubs have since followed suit and do this now even today. Well, we had many famous RC pilots there also. The reason I tell you this is because Sam Wright was actually the announcer of that event and a member of our club. Well, at that time, Sam worked for a company called Sun Television, and since videotape was just becoming new on the scene with large, bulky units that were very expensive, he had one and offered to use it to tape my first attempt at night flying a helicopter. He made for an excellent witness and can verify this event today, as he's still one of those original club members that is still alive and in the RC field. Later on, as Silume chemical lights began showing up as small novelties, like earrings and finger rings, I was able to actually tape them with clear tape. Yes, tape them to the tail rotor edges and even the main rotor blades to make the night flying experience even better, as you can see from some of these still shots. So here I present that first tape at night flying 40 years ago. You can actually hear the excitement in Sam's voice in the background as he tapes this event. These night flying experiments are actually the reason I'm called the Nightflyer today. So enjoy, and thanks for watching.
Looking at Dave Herbert's illuminated helicopter, which probably will be unbelievable in the darkness.
Shall I start it?
Starting the Super Mantis with collective pitch in the dark with his collective starter. And very soon we'll have lights.
Well, as you can see, it's kind of tough to see, and video in total darkness was really tough. But at least I have this video to show that night flying helicopters aren't new. This was a Nitro heli too. That required a very good knowledge of needle valve settings. I mean, what could go wrong?
It's in the air in the dark. Close, you can see the horizon. You can tell that this sucker is really flying in the dark. After a while, you get used to the orientation. You see the crucifixion form of the wide lights. You can see the canopy all lit up. Again, it gives you your orientation. Okay, lights on landing. Spotlight. Back on the ground. How's fuel, Dave?
There it is, sport fan, believe it or not. Super Mantis, an
I'll tell you, you'll fly it all the time.